Hello, good evening. Welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. Despite that, what came up at the start, it isn't the pre-match, it's the breakdown. And I'm here joined once again with my good mate, Paddy Maguire. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good.
Pleasure to have you back on. So we'll finish the story as it will. We were looking at the game, previewing it against Rangers. It's gone. It's 3-8. There's a lot to unpack. And as it says there, Celtic are still in a strong position to decide the title's destination after an Ibrox draw. That's what we're going to be doing. We'll be looking at the good, the bad, what we thought went well, what we thought could have been improved. And of course, we'll get round to the refereeing performance, VAR, and everything that goes with that. And also a couple of unsavoury, non-on-field related matters. But before we kick off, I say it once, I say it twice, I'll continue to say it until it changes. Right now, cWo's operation is small, but there's always room, and gladly welcomed would be a wee bit of rapid expansion. So if you want to help the channel out, you want to help myself, you want to help me reach more people, you want to help the channel and the community grow, then it only takes you 2 seconds and it'd be greatly appreciated. If you like what you see and hear on here, give the channel a subscribe. If you like the video, goes without saying, give it a like. And if you want to go a wee bit crazy, then you can also share it. That just helps reach more fans and get the word out. If you want to connect elsewhere, I'm on old school Facebook at Celtic World Order Podcast. And also you can find me on X, which is at cWo Pod 1888. And you can also find my own personal handle on there, and anybody else that comes on a show and joins me. That's the housekeeping out of the way, mate. As we says, big game, crunch game, you could say. Celtic 3, Rangers 3. It was all going perfectly, swimmingly well, wasn't it? Half time. What went wrong?
We were flying. Just about to crack a champagne. I don't know.
It's deflating.
It was.
I don't know about you, but certainly for where I'm sitting, it feels to me like an opportunity missed. If you said at the start of the day, will you take a draw? Listen, of course you will. But as you said, complete control in that first half. It probably went completely the opposite to how we'd predicted throughout the end of the week there when we were having a wee look at the game. But, you know, it's funny how these things happen, isn't it? It went from domination in the first half to a wee bit all over the place. But it's funny how your perception changes. Likewise, I was sitting there at half-time. I even done the wee half-time can on here, and I was expecting it to be, you know, a battle, but I was expecting it to be somewhat of a formality. And it's funny, isn't it, how that your perception changes. You would have taken the draw, but when you see that, you know, you can't help but feel a wee bit gutted, eh?
Oh, aye, 100%. Come half-time, I'm sitting there going, yeah, this is going to be 3 or 4. I'll give them a goal back, maybe. They're talking penalty. They're always going to get it, let's face it. But I thought, shoot you in. That's us. Take 3 points up the road. And then, even after it, when we get the third, when it goes 3-2, I think, right, that's it. Surely now, that's us.
Yeah.
So it felt like a boot in the balls, shall we say.
That's one way of putting it, but it is, that's the fact. That's the fact of the matter. Of course you're going to feel like that. So anyway, let's have a wee rewind back to just before kick-off when those lineups came out. You and I sat there, we surmised, we guessed, we thought, we spoke about the opposition FC, Club 12, we spoke about ourselves, and I think we were fairly accurate, were we not, and where things went. The big question for the Celtic lineup was the fitness of Callum McGregor. We says who could come in. We both thought that he was going to start. We thought that, you know, it was there for the taking. We just expected him to slip in and it to be like wearing a familiar pair of shoes. But alas, he didn't quite make it. He couldn't have been 100%. And we maybe saw that when he came on. We'll get round to that. But we started off with the midfield status quo. It was Iwata in that deep holding role, and the creative elements coming from Rio and Matt Riley, with the wings being Maeda and Kuhn. So, yeah, a wee bit of change there. And on the opposition side, there was a couple of things that we discussed, and one again that people said was they went as we expected. They went to try and be robust, they tried to be compact, they tried to be physical, and they played Dijon Sterling and at left back instead of Barisic or Yilmaz. And again, we'll go on to that. It seemed to work, didn't it? It seemed to work for them. But the main man, wasn't he? We discussed was Chaos Ball, Maeda. We sat here and we said about we'll need to ride the lightning. It'll be a Rangers out the traps. It was quite the opposite, wasn't it?
Well, 100%. We don't score many goals for front to back. That's for sure. We're always kind of up and down the wings, 10 passes, messing about. We don't get many if we do Hart straight up the park and then super Dyson chasing everything. And like you called it, Captain Fantastic there, Hall of Famer. Must have pat his chance as he's seen Dyson on his left hand shoulder, just bombing through. And do you know what? Why he didn't pass that back to Butland? Do you know what I mean? He's obviously, I don't know what he's thought there, why he's trying to put that out of the park, but fair play to Dyson for getting the leg in.
He's burnt for pace, isn't he?
Oh,
it's a Hail Mary. It's a Hail Mary punt up the pitch. I mean, we call it Hail Mary, but it's very much Hart. You've got to give him a wee bit of credit there. He obviously sees that big open chasm that Tav trying to be the forward thing. I know we're only 20 seconds in, but he shows you how far advanced they want to be. And as you says, the bullet man, he comes straight up there. Tav's at 6s and 7s. He, for whatever reason, similar to as we saw the last time it happened, where it was actually Morelos, he tries to play it across him. And there he is. You know, he'll say it was an accident. It was actually a ricochet. And it went into the back of the net, didn't it? 1-0, 21 seconds, a hostile crowd, silenced. And I ain't going to lie, I was stunned. I was stunned. But it gave us the impetus, did it not, for there on in? It really seemed to shake them. We spoke about mental sort of strength in both sides. And do you feel that had an impact, that early goal? Did you feel it knocked the stuffing out of Rangers? What did you see after it?
100%. They were... they started to panic. Do you know what I mean? Every time the ball went back, they're just like the defence didn't want the ball. The midfield was kind of non-existent. It was just doing their lump ball all the time. Do you know what I mean? You know the deal with that. They're always trying to pump the ball over the top. But I just felt like they didn't want it. They really didn't want to have the ball. They were scared. Do you know what I mean? They were running scared at the start.
So, with regards to the first half, as we say, you know, we can sit here and we can sing the praises. Obviously, the early goal gives us that advantage. It silences the crowd. And as time starts to go on, we start to see the mood music, if you will, change a wee bit. The crowd start to get on their back, as we says. Do you feel that we're playing with a sort of element of freedom? We talked about the spaces and the game being open and those channels being there. Do you think we were taking advantage of that? And even though we looked comfortable, do you think we were our glittering best, or we're just taking advantage of Rangers' side that were on the ropes?
We were good. I wouldn't say we were at our glittering best. I've seen better performances by better teams. A few players struggled, like you pointed out, Dijon Sterling at the back. I think he pretty much nullified Kuhn.
Yeah.
Kuhn couldn't get past him. Maeda was our out ball. We kept going towards the left. We didn't have much through the middle. I think Kyogo kind of, I don't know, he wasn't really up to his normal self.
Yeah.
Whether that was down to the defenders nullifying him, I'm not really 100%. But yeah, everything for us seemed to kind of go down the left and kind of go through O'Reilly and Hatate. It seemed to be that kind of way. Do you know what I mean? Johnson and Kuhn didn't seem to do much on the right.
No, I think you're right. You know, certainly for my observations on the early stages, what I would say is we looked comfortable. We were given a relative amount of freedom because Rangers were spooked and they were sort of standing off. I think maybe a wee bit of their team selection as well didn't help them in some aspects. Down our left-hand side, they had, you know, Wright, who was, for whatever reason, a player that some of their fans were wanting to start and they were debating whether he should. I certainly think he's shown why, for them at least, He's featured in games before against us, but it's always been as a sub, showing that he really doesn't have that quality. So I think we were taking full advantage of that down the left-hand side. Obviously, Maeda's pace and speed were a constant thorn in our side. We saw the good, we saw the bad in Maeda, because as much as we were getting a lot down that left-hand side, the final ball, the end product, wasn't quite there. There was a few into the broom one, was there not, as far as crosses and supposed passes were going?
And that's it. I listened to Brendan's interview as well, and he said that. He says even our play throughout the game was good. Throughout the first half, we played really well, but the final ball, is we lack it so many times. And I've watched previous games, and like even the Livy game and the game previous to that. If we could get that final ball, we're going to beat teams 4, 5, 6-0. So I mean, it's just that final pass. We're all right getting down to the wing. We're getting right down to the corner flag, but it's that final pass in that's we're struggling.
So we'll work alongside and we'll work up to the second goal and the grandstand finish, if you will, with the first half. But in terms of general performance, I just want to sort of look at it in general and sort of wean our way through it. Obviously, we were in control, I felt. There were still some deficiencies. We've pinpointed Kuhn. We were expecting a lot out of him, were we not? We were expecting him to be showing what he has the past few games, picking the ball up, wanting to attack, wanting to look forward. To be honest with you, I could have counted in one hand the amount of real sort of proper attacks that he had and influence that he had in the game. And then he picks up an early booking, a very, I would say, innocuous, pointless beating classic, if you will, for a wee yellow card just to get one out there. But do you think his player, you touched on cWo not quite being at his best, do you think that, I personally felt that he wasn't doing enough? I didn't feel that cWo was getting as involved as he had been. He wasn't dropping in, looking for the ball, giving an option, giving an outlet to the likes of Kuhn. So, as much as Kuhn wasn't trying to take the game by the throat himself and make it happen, I don't think he had people, or particularly who he's aiming for, cWo, coming looking enough.
Aye, you're kind of bang on. Again, I didn't see it for Kuhn at all. Do you know what I mean? And like you said, maybe he's not had the options, but it's up to him to find it. He's like you say, he's a professional footballer. He's got to find the space. He's got to do the bit. He's got to do the damage. Like you said, you could count it in one hand. You could probably count it in one finger, mate. The amount of times that he actually went past Sterling or actually tried to go through him. Do you know what I mean? He just lacked it. He just didn't have it for me.
It was disappointing, but as we say, our play, albeit not fantastic, we were allowed to play and we were comfortable, were we not? I think there was maybe one or two occasions where, again, guys that we spoke about, the Taylor, the Scales, down that left-hand side, where I felt that they were a wee bit sort of weak. There was a wee moments of madness, if you will, out of Scales that, if Rangers had been more, like we'll get on in the second half, been a wee bit more on it, we could have found ourselves in trouble. But it was relatively plain sailing. And the one guy that we want to touch on, because he was in there in lieu of Cal McGregor, was Awata. We're in control in that first half. We'll get on to how he performed in the second. But did you think, did he show much? Was it just a case of everybody looked all right because Rangers were so bad? Or did he look to you as if he was, had the right to be in there and he was better? I mean, here's Steve-O saying Awata is average and he's not quite sure he's got it. Do you prescribe to that first half? Second half, I could say that. What do you think of the first half from Awata?
First half, mate, he could have played with slippers on. He didn't have much against him. I think he'd got 2 interceptions. There wasn't much coming at him. You can only deal with what's up against you at the end of the day, and he didn't have much up against him. Yeah. So I think for what he had a chance to do, he done all right.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. So let's move on and wind it down, So hell freezes over at Ibrox, doesn't it? We have a penalty. We have a VAR intervention. At first, I'll be honest, that before it happened, because in real time, you don't see it, do you? I was shouting at the telly and Scales, got to do more Scales. I'm losing, tearing my hair out. I'm thinking, that's a chance there. And then, there you go. Big Connor Basketball Goldson, who's, he loves a wee extended arm. He loves a wee extended hand. And unfortunately for him, this was the time that he got caught out. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. See if it wasn't for us calling out Beaton and calling out Don Robertson and making a formal complaint to the SFA, do you think that gets picked up, looked at and awarded?
Not a chance.
It's funny how things work, isn't it? But he comes out and listen, you can't deny, I heard Mr. Clement saying he has to jump with his arm, but very much by my eye, he leans into it. He leans into it, doesn't he?
You don't jump like that.
No, you don't. He knows exactly what he's doing. And how's your feeling when you see the we're going over to VAR? Do you think it's actually going to happen?
No, I really didn't. I thought he's going to come up with some sort of excuse here. He's going to say he's not in an awkward position, or it's came at him from too close, or do you know what I mean? I was just thinking of one of the excuses that they could possibly come out with, but fair play to the guy. He got it right.
He avoids it. He awards it, and up steps Matt Riley. Penalties have been a thing that, let's be honest, we've really struggled with, haven't we? We've seen Hatate previously take it with mixed results, and it's Riley. We spoke about him. He hadn't been in glittering best form, and we said the other night there, what an opportunity for him to rise to the occasion on the big stage. How did you feel his play was up until the penalty? Did you feel that he was in the game enough?
Not really. Nah, he didn't really have many chances, did he? He had the header.
Which we will get to, yes, aye.
But other than that, mate, he wasn't really involved much. Couple of quick passes here and there, but not much.
So he steps up. The crowd, you can, as I said before, my wee halftime chat, the tension, the toxicity, at this point, it really started to turn, hadn't it? Why? These fans were on their back. It was tangible. You could almost taste it through the TV. You could cut it. You could reach out and touch it. It was that bad, wasn't it? And, listen, we call Carter Vickers the fridge, but could there have been a cooler man at Ibrox? Nah. The audacity right down the middle and a cheeky chap.
It was beautiful, wasn't it? It was beautiful. Ballsy. If he does that and Butland stands still, then everybody's having his head. But, yeah, to do that at Ibrox in front of 50,000 of them, that's ballsy. It takes a lot.
Absolutely, and I was just, what a goal! I can't even express how I was feeling. As I say, see when I saw the wee short run up though, I thought, oh, here we go. Over him, dinks it in. We're 2-0 up, and by that point, we're cruising into it. As you said, it's pipe and slippers. At least that's what you're thinking. Yeah. After that goal, it was visible, wasn't it? If we thought the Rangers' heads were down, we're well and truly sank. And then, as you says, we had more chances. Did you come into that? You obviously said at half time you were buoyant. You were expecting us to kick on the second half and add more. But let's not forget, how did you feel about the missed chances? First off, being Maeda, we spoke about him, chaos ball. Yeah. He gets through. He's got a beautiful chance inside the box, and it's just straight at Butland. Is that a sitter does it fall into sitter category? Has that been a wee bit unkind?
I think it's been a bit unkind. I should have probably placed it a wee bit better, but yeah, he's went for the far corner. I'd have went near post, but listen, I'm not
element of surprise.
Let's face it, I'm not a striker either, but yeah, he should have went near post. I reckon he should have put a bit through it. He's tried to be smart and put it across the keeper. Yeah, fair play to Butland, he's got there.
No, I mean, but is that not what we've became to expect? Haida, as we says before, he's a mixed bag. He almost falls into that. What's the term we like to use? Enigma. He falls into that almost Samaras-esque. 1 minute he's, it's beautiful football, and then the next minute is, oh my God, and you're tearing your hair out. I definitely think for me, I think it's a great ball. Again, we spoke about those open channels that were there because of how open Rangers were. And again, I think a wee bit of that comes down to they're so shook. As we said before, I don't think any of our midfielder, any players in particular, by the exception of Maeda, were really hammering home and doing anything particularly special. But part of that as well, their players that we expected, your Diamandes, your Lundstroms, the guys that you would expect to be getting in, they couldn't get anywhere near us, and everything they were doing was in vain because slipped in. Again, Chasm plays it through, he's charging in, and he's either got to lift it high or he's got to be cheeky and go to Butland's near post. I think that if that goes in, then it changes. Of course, it does. It changes the perception, the whole way the game plays out. But it surely buries them. So it's a missed chance, and it comes back to what you says about Rodgers, and he was talking about just the end ball and the end product. Is that something we're going to have to really get on top of between now and the end of the season?
100%. It's something that we should have been on at the start of the season, to be fair. You look back at all of the games that we've played, and it's that final ball that's just lacking, just ever so slightly.
Yeah.
The amount of missed chances that we're having in that box, whether it's straight at a keeper or whether they're trying to be smart with it or whatever, I don't know what the problem is, but we need to sort it.
And as the game kicks on in the second half, and we sort of near the twilight of that half, we've got another fantastic chance. Ball's played in, and it's a Riley again, this time with a header. Straight down the throat of Butland.
Yeah.
Is it a good save, or is it
I think it's a decent enough save. It's come at him with a fair bit of speed. O'Reilly's connected with it properly, and it's come at him pretty quick. So I give Butland that one. That was a good save.
Yeah. It's easy for us to sit here as armchair tacticians and armchair footballers, if you will. But as the old saying, a Sutton would say, or a Hartson, you've got to header that down.
Down the way, yeah. A real striker would have. Matt O'Reilly's not a striker.
Yeah, no, listen, it's another chance. And again, by this point, coming back to the notion that, Rangers, they're hanging on to grim life there. They're desperate. Two great chances. It just shows you, it's, as the old cliche, you've got to take your chances when they come, as we'll get on to it. We score one of the two, or both of them, it's game over, isn't it? It's, get the proverbial body bags out at half time. Rangers are dead again. So, but nah. And then, as far as chances went, winding off in the end of the second half, Hart, again, we've said about Hart for all his madness. And as I say, people didn't like it. They didn't necessarily agree. It just maybe sums up a wee bit of our form. But he makes a vital save right at the death, does he not? Keeps the lead, keeps the 2-0, keeps it intact. And again, big game player. You've got a Mr. Southgate sitting in the crowd, probably wanting to look at Butland. Maybe he's thinking, oh, Jesus, Joe's retiring.
He drew another shot.
He drew another shot. Wheel him back out. Get the classics out. Thank you, Strange Love. I appreciate that. That's right. Wee bit of metal here on cWo. Trying to mix it up. That's a wee bit of me. And hopefully you like it. Because I know it's chalk and cheese. But you know what? It doesn't matter. We're doing it for ourselves first and foremost. If everybody else likes it and gets on board, then thank you very much. There we go. So as we say, as we go into half time, mate, 2-0. We're talking and we were on the chat, we're on the digits, we're excited. I'm even so excited. I come up, man, do a wee 15 minutes at half time here. I'm like, yes. And listen, it doesn't quite come together, does it? They make changes, they realise their mistakes, they come on and they bring on Sima and place it right. That gives them obviously a far better quality about attacking. We come back out. Were you surprised to see Kuhn come back out at half time?
Yeah, I was. I thought I'd have changed him for Yang earlier, or like we spoke about Jamesy, and made a bit of a difference down that wing. I think you'd mentioned it before, Steve, and said about Forrest would have gave us a better option because he's been there, he's done it, he's got these.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Someone down that wing, somebody to go, yeah, we've got this. They stand for a wee bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, we come out, we're unchanged. I guess there is room to say Kuhn is just not in the game at all. But I suppose you can give the benefit of the doubt. You've got to assume that there is the halftime team chat, and that's a case of him being taken aside and saying, you need to show more. As we come out, the second half starts off, does it not? More, we probably thought the kickoff was going to start. Rangers are on the high press. They're the ones that are coming forward, and they look as if obviously they've had a rocket fired up now at half time. But it starts off a wee bit. They've got their fans to win over, and they know that they've got a lot of work to do. They come out, and how do you think that we react to that? Because we get a wee sort of early scare, we see a wee shot across the brows of their intention, and then obviously that leads up to their equaliser, which we will get onto. So as it kicks off in the second half and they come out a wee bit more firing, are you thinking, right, we're on a game here, or do you expect the status quo to remain, us to just get the foot back in the ball and silence it?
I can expect it. You're sitting there at half time, you're going, right, 2-0, this is us shooting in. You know they're not going to come out and just be the same team that they were in the first half. Do you know what I mean? They've come out, they've went for it. They've come out, they've given us 10 minutes. I thought, you know what, ride the storm. We'll catch them on the break. We'll get another one, sink them. That was my kind of looking at it. I'm going, this is sound. We've got it. It's all good. And then, like you said, the Olympics
comes up. Well, we'll get to that, and let's touch on it right now then. So we say VAR in the first half comes in, and it gives Celtic an unlikely hell-frozen over penalty. Connor Goldson is finally degloved and found out. But what goes around, unfortunately, comes around, and it's Mr. Beaton awarding a penalty for some Olympics diving. However, I do want to touch on it, and we'll break down people's views on it. Anybody that's watching here, there is a good few of you watching. What did you think of it? Was it a penalty? Was it not a penalty? Is it a complete dive and we've been conned? Is Beaton doing Beaton things? Well, here's where I'm at with it, Paddy. The ball comes in. What I would say is our positioning is not great, is it?
No.
We are a wee bit out there. We should have saw before. Silva, albeit he doesn't get too much purchase in the first half, he doesn't do too much, and certainly he done more rolling about the floor than he did actual attacking or playing the game. The ball slides into him. I think, in my opinion, again, I'm maybe being overly picky here, I think Johnson he's not in the greatest of positions. He's not really covering himself in glory. He does get back, and as we well see, he flicks out his right leg. He does make contact with the ball, and as he's going back, his leg's slightly high, and it makes contact. There's no doubt we can sit here and we can try and debate it all we want. It does make contact with the knees of Silva. That said, however, Silva is already on the way down, isn't it?
Yeah. The guy spent more time on the deck in the first half than he did on his feet. He reminded me of a wee guy called Deco, if you remember him, constantly on the deck.
Very well.
And,
without the skills and the ability, of course.
Without the rest of the stuff that Deco came with. I spent more time on his arse than he did on his feet, mate. And like you say, he was on his way down. And for me, Johnson wins the ball. He's touched the ball away from him. Yeah, fair enough. The foot touches him on the way back, but he's won the ball.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what happens after that. He's won the ball.
100%. Well, the thing is, Paddy, as he says, he comes down and he's been going down and beaten, in my opinion, rightfully flashes the yellow card. Simulation, he's given it as a booking for diving. And what I do find interesting, I don't know if you've seen these angles. Firstly, other than Silva, no other Rangers player is screaming for that. No other player reacts to it. And you actually see the fans behind the stand, and they're gesturing, they're looking, and they're going like this, get up. They're absolutely raging. They're thinking exactly as we're thinking, and as Beaton's thinking, he's dived. What I would say is, and Steve-O brings it in here, he says, AJ is prone to a stupid tackle on the occasion. He's rather unfortunate. The real question is, would it be a penalty kick at Celtic? Not a chance. Well, we'll get into that. Of course, we saw something, at Livingston. There's far more content than that. And that's not given, but that's another story for another day. As we say, as you look at, I always feel that when you see the fans, your own fans, giving it the get up, and they're raging, that speaks volumes. That really does speak volumes. Now, for my sins, I listened to Super Scoreboard. I lasted 3 callers and I had to turn off. I ain't going to lie, because I was, shall I say, frustrated when I was just listening to some of the nonsense, including such a classic from Andy Halliday as "No debate, it's a stonewall penalty." So that's what we're dealing with here. But listen, let's play devil's advocate. As we says, he does make a touch on the ball. The argument that they were making, and I've seen other folk make, is it's not enough to change the direction of the ball. It is a contact sport. If you make a tackle, whether that's shoulder to shoulder or indeed you're falling back but you kick the ball away, you might catch the player. Now, the argument they're making is the tackle by Johnson is not enough. There's not enough touch on the ball. It doesn't divert the direction of it, and it's continuing to roll forward. To that end, they're arguing it's a loose ball for Silva. Yes, that's true. However, we come back to this. How can you get on the end of a loose ball if you're going to fall over and hit it with your face?
Aye, he's not catching it. That's what the ref's got to look at. And Brendan called it as well when you watch his interview. He said for him, he thinks Beaton got it right. He's given a yellow card. He thinks he's in a cracking position. He's watching it. He's like, he got the call right, and he's been called across by Nick Walsh and VAR.
100%.
And if you watch the freeze frames, I was watching it in Sky Sports, and the freeze frames that it showed you were all from the right-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
And it only showed you like freeze frames of Johnson's leg pretty much on. You
don't see the full phase of play. You don't see the contact as
we've
ball.
Seen it. Yeah. So that's what he's shown to Beaton. Do you know what I mean? You need to see it for every angle. If you're going to call something like that, you need to be able to see it for every angle, and he didn't.
Yeah, no, 100%. The one thing I would say is, obviously, listen, it is what it is. I do think, not to criticise a player, because I don't think he's done, I think he's been harshly done by a terrible refereeing decision. But I do agree with what, Steve-O said there. Johnson is prone to a silly tackle. And I think what he's prone to there is he's in a bad position. He really shouldn't be in that position where he's out of turn. He's having to turn round and he's basically making a last ditch. It shouldn't happen. He should be better than that. Obviously, he's got to lift his leg up and it's going to make contact. As I say, he incites the contact by falling into it. And unfortunately, as we've seen time and time again, when you give these referees an opportunity, it's an easy decision for them. The one thing I'm really disappointed but not surprised in from Beaton is he makes an amazing call. He makes a brave call, in my opinion. He then gets called over. And again, this is something that I'd like to know why. We can assume why, but he's not shown the full context. The freeze frames that he's made to pour over are just Johnson's leg lifted and it hitting Silva. No mention of the touch of the ball. Perhaps if he sees that, he's brave enough to
say no.
To say no and stick with his own decision. And again, call me a conspiracy theorist. I don't care. We've seen VAR in operation twice up to that point. One was to enforce. One was to influence. Mm-hmm. The first one enforced a point-blank rule. The second one was, in my opinion, to influence. They gave him a layup. They gave him an easy opportunity, because if that's what actually happened and that's all he was seeing, whether like it or not, yes, it's a penalty. So I feel that Celtic have been unjustly done and we've been conned. And Beaton has probably been given an option that he's happy to make, isn't it?
Of course he is. He's choking for it.
That's that. So they step up. Captain penalty. Makes amends, doesn't
he? He takes enough of them. He's bound to be good at them.
And once again, it is it's a good penalty. He takes it well. Keepers will be criticised for penalties all the time, but it's a good penalty. Rangers are then 1-up. Well, 1-up. They're back in the game, should I say. The fans start to get a wee bit of hope there. And did you see a noticeable change in it? How did you think that penalty decision rocked us. For where I was sitting, I felt as if we talked about mental strength, didn't we? We spoke about it at length. We did look a wee bit shell-shocked, did we not?
We looked a bit shaky. And then straight away the momentum was with them. They come at us, they threw everything. Do you know what I mean? That was the pivotal moment for them, was that penalty. As soon as that went in, you thought, right, here we go. This is it. They're just going to come at us constant, and they did. They just threw the kitchen sink right at us.
Yeah. Well, we were a wee bit off, and we spoke about, again, I keep saying on it because it's very, very important. We speak about that mentality. It gave them a wee bit of hope, and they started to get a bit more purchased, did they not? We started to see some mistakes creeping in. And I asked the question, I says, what did you think of our players? We were in control in the first half, but were we in control because we were good or because they were so bad? It almost looked to me as if it was because they were so bad rather than us being so good. Do you not agree?
No, I do. After the goal, their midfield started to get more involved. Your lad Lundstrom got more on the ball. The guy Lawrence, who couldn't hit a cow in the arse with a banjo, started kind of getting more involved and putting the balls through, and they looked a bit more promising.
I think that's when we started to look shaky, and that's when our midfield that we were questioning for the big games, the addition of Wata, for me, that's when it started to come into fruition, and things weren't that great. We rang a few changes. 65 minutes. Rio Hatate, for all that he'd done up in the game so far, it was clear that the intensity of that game had burnt him out. He looked dead in his feet, I thought. And we introduced Cal McGregor. Now, at that time, we've got two options on the bench that we discussed. We've got Cal McGregor and we've got Bernardo that can really fit into that role. And we got to see what we thought would have been possibly one of the starting options, which was McGregor and Iwata in there. How did you feel when Cal McGregor came on? To me, I thought he certainly looked... we could see why he didn't start. He looked a wee bit off the pace.
I spoke, you might have mentioned an 80% Callum McGregor starts before MD in that team. Mm-hmm. I don't even think he was 80% fit, to be honest, mate. No. I think he's wanted to play it. Do you know what I mean? Callum's not, he's the captain, he's wanted to be involved, he's been given it the bigger I am, and obviously he's going to want to play in that game. Mm-hmm. For me, he probably shouldn't have got on.
Yeah, but that comes back to a combination of limited options, does it not?
Yeah. For that position, and you've got Iwata. If you're taking off Rio, then you bring on Bernardo.
Yeah.
I
think for me, when we look at the sub options at that point, as we say, it's 2-1. Rangers are getting a bit of a foothold in the game again. Certainly, from their midfield standpoint, they're getting a bit more of a foothold in the game. You've got suddenly Lawrence is actually getting involved in the game. Lundstrom's just doing Lundstrom's things. The one guy that I was shocked by and I thought he was fairly anonymous was Diamande. Mm-hmm. But we need somebody, we're trying to be robust, and we're talking about, and we'll get on to it with the next sub, we're talking about calm heads, we're talking about experience. So out the two options, you've got to roll the dice on McGregor, if you're not. So, we bring him on. 65 minutes, we also make another substitution, which I personally think is the one thing tactically that Rodgers really got wrong. He brings off Kuhn. I'm surprised, firstly, that he lasted as long as he does, and he introduces Yang. Mm-hmm. Now, for me, I don't know. I'll give you what I'm thinking here, and you can tell me. I think at that point, he brings on McGregor because he wants experience, calm head, someone that can handle the atmosphere. He brings off Kuhn because he's getting consumed by the atmosphere. But then he brings on Yang. He essentially brings on the same person. Young, inexperienced, unpredictable. Now, I know that we've sung his praises and we thought, he's been coming on to a game. But was Forrest the call there?
Yeah. You said it and I've said it. Jamesy's got experience. He gives you the option. You know he's going to go forward. You know he's got a goal in him. And you know he's done this before several times. The guy's a winner.
Yeah.
As much as you want to say anything else about him, some people come on here and slate him. But yeah, he's a winner.
Yeah.
proven winner.
I think that could have changed. That's the one thing. And I was quite surprised. I mean, obviously we're saying that we are, but what did you make of Rodgers' comments when he was discussing, a couple of weeks back, he was talking about Forrest and he says he's got a big part to play. He's going to be instrumental in this remaining amount of running games. He's been there, he's done it, and he'll have a big part to play. Did them not bringing him on somehow seem to sort of belie that and, almost contradict that point?
It kind of nullifies it, doesn't it? It kind of puts it in the back burner. If you can't get a game over Yang, then yeah, there's an issue.
It is a bit of a strange one. And then we spoke about performances dropping away, and I'll bring up the comment again because we're leading up to that. We're leading up to that disallowed goal, right? So, and VAR again. It's a wat, isn't it? He's a wee bit slow in the uptake. I think at that point when they started to get into the game, he didn't cover himself in glory. He looked, you could see he was harassed. You could see he was uncomfortable. Anyway, he loses the ball. He is fouled. The ball runs up. Again, I know it's a disallowed goal, but I think we've got to touch on it. When the ball's, Silva runs through, he's got the freedom in the midfield, he's charging through, and he slides it out to, surprise, our left-hand side because it's the weakest part of the defenders. And what did you think of Taylor and Scales and how they were positioned and how they handled themselves before it made its way through to Dessers?
How many times do we comment about it? How many times do we say, Taylor's out of position, Scales is out of position? It's almost every week. They've got a mistake in them, but they're constantly out of position, especially Taylor.
Yeah.
I mean, we spoke about Tav being out of position and being always up the park and whatever else. Taylor doesn't give us the options that Tav gives them, but he's never in position, so I don't know where he is.
100%. No, the ball slid in, and they're too compact, they're too close together, they're bumping into each other. It's a wee bit of pinball wizard, it works its way in. Dessers thinks he thinks that he's got the equaliser. Ibrox explodes.
Aye.
My head's down, your head's down. But then, much more surprising, VAR intervenes. Goal is chopped off for the clear foul that's in front of Beaton. Just in our own half in the attacking phase of play. Now, I want to touch on that. It is 100% the right decision. He doesn't have an option to give it. I want to play a wee bit of devil's advocate here. Do you think he allows the foul to go because he's doing the good refereeing thing and letting play run because Celtic might turn over possession and then it doesn't matter? Or do you think he forgets if they score, this is getting called back and I'm going to have to spew up and chop this off?
Aye, I think he's kind of hoping for maybe a corner off it or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think he's let it run just in the hope that they just get themselves up the park off it.
Yeah.
Not thinking that he's going to have to chop it off, that the world's watching him.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. And it comes back to, I just want to touch on this notion of what is clear and obvious, because I might sound like I'm going to contradict myself. If we rewind back to the penalty that Rangers were given, yes, I've always says if the referee sees it and he's well sighted on it, it can't be clear and obvious. Now, he sees that right in front of him, the penalty incident, and he makes a decision. As far as I'm concerned, that's a big decision. He sees it. It's not clear and obvious. He makes his decision. It is correct. The second one, it's clear and obvious that it is a foul, but he doesn't give it. So is it clear and obvious because he doesn't make the correct decision, or is it clear and obvious because he can see it or he can't see it? I actually think that he's just trying to get away with one there. I genuinely do. I think he's trying to just, as you said, let the ball play. He probably, I don't know if he necessarily expects that Rangers are going to score for it. I think he maybe hopes that Celtic turn over possession and he's advanced Rangers up the park a wee bit. You know, call me conspiracy theorist, but that's where I'm at with that one, mate. I think it's a shocker, and he ends up having to call it back and chop it off, and you can see the rub of the brow, and he's visibly
He's
visibly gutted, isn't he, when he has to kill that one off?
Yeah, 100%. He's looking at the screen going, right, aye, this one's he's gone. Aye.
No, 100%. Well, anyway, it fortunately gives us a wee reprieve. But Rangers continue on, don't they? I mean, I said this to you. We spoke about, let's be honest, no matter what you think of Rangers, come back to the mental strength. And years gone by, seasons gone by, 2-0 at half time destroys Rangers, doesn't it?
They'd have folded. Right, they'd have 100% folded. But this guy's got them believing that they can come back for anything. And yeah, it's they're just pushing. They're pushing and pushing and pushing. And eventually it's paid off, innit?
Eventually it's 2 each, yep. And again, where do you pin the blame on this one? I think for me, it's a combination of Yang and it's a combination of, unfortunately, our captain McGregor. I think both are slowing the uptake in their respective positions on there. The ball comes in. Again, I think when the ball comes over and it gets on the edge of the box, Taylor's far too deep. Now, I don't want to flog that horse, Taylor, scales, but it has to be mentioned again. The goal comes with the left-hand side. They clearly know it's a weakness. And you've got McGregor, who, yes, he's poor. He's poor, and he makes a last-ditch desperation charge to get on the end there. He is largely at fault, I would say, but he's not helped out by the fact that both Scales and Taylor are so compact, so tight together each other in the box. You know, Taylor should be in a more advanced position that when it goes out there, the player doesn't have a chance to even, control the ball, let alone get a shot off. And then you've got Scales is on his 6-yarder, also like McGregor, desperately trying to charge out, and it's all too late. It takes the deflection, it goes in, it's fortuitous. It's 2 each. What are you thinking at that point, mate?
Worst case, mate. I was hoping the ref was just going to blow the whistle at that point, take a draw, because I didn't see a goal coming for us.
Yeah.
Really didn't. At that point, you're sitting going, right, this is it. Just we're going to get battered for the rest of this game here. Can I try to hold on?
No, that's the thing. It started to look shaky, didn't it? And which was largely a very toxic crowd. You know, the booing at half time, the groaning, the moaning. It was what we expected. It was on fire. They were really pushing them on, and it started to eat into our players. That's the one thing that's concerned me, and it does still for this run-in, is we spoke about that mental capacity, that grit, and to be able to just knuckle down, stay composed, and do it. You still had your guys like Carter Vickers and stuff who were doing largely that, but there was a lot of guys that seemed to be burning them up, didn't it? And that comes into it when we were looking to find something. We make our next sub at 69 minutes and we go for what we discussed. We go for that other option, don't we? We bring off cWo. As far as afternoons go, it was quiet for him, wasn't it? What did you think? Did you have any much opinion on his game?
He didn't really have much of a game, did he? What did he have? One shot on target?
It was all rather poor, wasn't it?
It was a rather poor shot as well, rather poor effort. I was on here with you before it, and I'm sitting saying, "I'll get your cWo on to score first. Loves a goal against them. He's going to do this, he's going to do that." Yeah, wee man was really quiet.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of funny, wasn't it? Because we spoke about the openness and the channels being there to find those runs off him. Obviously, I touched on when I said that Kuhn wasn't quite helping him out, but also kWo wasn't really coming looking for them, was he?
No.
It was quite a lazy paint by numbers, phoning it in performance from, was it not?
Aye.
But then when we see Big Ida come on, he gave us something different, didn't he? Obviously gives us that size, strength and target man, but I felt when he came on, he put himself about, did he not? Did you like that change up?
Oh, 100%. He was out in the wing at one point as well, and he's got 2 players round about him, and he gets out of it with the ball and passes it into the middle of the park. Also, there was one of the chances he had straight away, the chance he kind of cut inside and
What do you think of that? Do you think he makes it? Is that I see my name in stars there, or do you think he makes a poor decision?
listen, the guy said it before, he's a Celtic fan. How many Celtic fans dream about scoring against them at Ibrox? He's obviously had a wee rush of blood to the head and not seen, I think it was Bernardo, standing there on a open, right in the penalty spot ready just to put it in the top sticks, and he's tried to beat a player too much and made a wee...
But he gave it, as I say, he gave us an option. I think at that point we look as if we've got a real foothold in the game. You also mentioned Bernardo. He enters the fold, 82 minutes. We take off O'Reilly. I think, as we say, bar the penalty, which is a touch of class, he was another player that I felt was just phoning it in. He was just sort of on the periphery of the play. I don't really think there was much to offer there. But Bernardo makes an impact. He comes on. We talked about taking the game with the scruff of the neck. He picks the ball up. He's just over the halfway line and he makes a direct B run. He cuts straight in. He's angled his run and then he threads a lovely pass into Big Ida. And he does well, doesn't he? He does what, a cWo doesn't do. He holds it up. He's got two guys. It maybe helps him that Sterling and Suter are having a wee coming together, but he shrugs it and it's a fine finish, isn't it? He fires it right under Butland.
Absolute belter of finish. I think it's through the legs of Sterling into the back of the net. It's just what an option to bring off the bench. Should he have started?
Well, there's another question, isn't it? I mean, I think it all comes down to you play the circumstances, don't you? You can't knock the fact that
Kyogo's record goals in 6 games or something.
Do you think perhaps? We all spoke and we said about it the other night, didn't we? We said about when do we think the subs are going to come? And we could have predicted it, would I say, 65, 69, and then a late substitution, almost like clockwork. Do you think that change on 69 could have came a wee bit earlier, or do you think it 2-1 was still being ahead at that point? You think, keep kYogo on?
That's a tough one. In hindsight, looking at it, take him off. If he is going to give us that option up there, now that we know he's got it, then for me, he just starts the next game.
Oh, that's a bold shout. It's a
He's got to. He's got to.
A really bold shout, mate.
For me, he has to. For your man Bernardo pushing forward, outstanding. Every time he got the ball, he turned. He was wanting to push. He was wanting to press. For me, he was probably the best shout in the middle of the park. Even though he only played for a short period.
He only get 16 minutes when you add in the stoppage time. But again, he shows enough, doesn't he? And he shows that wee bit of class he's got. I'm still not fully convinced on him. Certainly not at the price tag. I think if you can get him for maybe 3 million, 3.5, then let's talk. If it's still this 6 million, I'm not quite sure, because I think we would have seen a wee bit more of him if we really thought that he was worth that kind of cash value. But he does what he needs to do. He makes an impact. And an interesting stat that came out in the game is that Celtic substitutions this season have contributed to 20 goals.
Wow.
And there you go. That happens again. Ida comes on, scores a goal. Bernardo comes on, sets it up. That's promising to see, particularly when we need it. But listen, it's late on. We score late on. The comeback, we've done it again. We've knocked the crowd out. It's a hammer blow, or at least we think. Game management. It doesn't. We just don't do what we need to do we? We just don't see it out. And again, you're damned to say it. McGregor,
I know.
Yang, the two guys that have made the mistakes, they're culpable again for the Matondo goal. Where did it all go wrong there, mate?
I don't know. McGregor's been caught. Like we say, 80% fit McGregor deals with that, puts it away. He's just been caught, and do you know what? Fair play to the wee man. What a finish it was.
Yeah, I mean, we need to touch on Yang. We really do need to touch on Yang, because see, for me, what is it? Is it a lack of passion? Is it a lack of heart? Is it just downright lazy? Because he should know. We always talk about, or should I say, Rodgers always talks about, and he's always been a big advocate of preparation. You tell players who they're up against. He'll tell them their strengths. He'll tell them their weaknesses. We spoke about Matondo very briefly, and I'll be honest, he's not a great player, but you can't take the finish away from him. He needs to show him the outside. He needs to put him on his weaker left foot and hustle him, but he doesn't. He stands off. He almost says, go ahead, and invites the shot, and it is a great finish, but
it's one that could be
Yang's shameful, is he not?
100%. You've got to, like you say, put him on his weaker foot. You've got to push on. The amount of times we've seen players that are famous for it, you know me, shouting at the telly, telling players to get out, to push. Seen it with Taylor on our side so many times, just standing off, giving them a chance to put the ball in the box. For me, you've got to just go for them. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to dive in, of course you don't, because they're going to do you, but like, if you run at him, he's not getting on the inside.
Is that aside from just, you know, lack of desire, is it perhaps naivety for Yang? Is it perhaps he's inexperienced? Because there's two occasions, even around whenever the second goal goes in for Rangers, you could argue the toss that he's got to take the man out before it even happens. And then obviously the second time he gets a chance to make an influence in the game, all right, you don't want to lose a free kick on the edge of the box, but even if he just takes him out, he has to do something, doesn't he?
Of course you do. It's just maybe inexperience. Does it happen with Jamesy Forrest on the park? Probably not.
No, and that's the thing. I think that those two situations with Yang, obviously McGregor contributes, but with Yang being out of position and culpable more so for the second goal, I genuinely believe, you know, if what coulda, shoulda, woulda and all that kind of hindsight is great when you're sitting here after the event, but my heart tells me that Forrest, just simply for the playing for the shirt and know what it means, he's chasing down everything. He's dying on his feet until the final whistle. I don't think the pass gets out there. And if it does, I don't think he's foolish enough, certainly, to stand off. He might get beat and he might still score, but I think he engages the player. He makes a conscious effort and he tries. That's what I think.
Yeah.
There you go. It's strange off says, you know, he should learn from it. It's just at this sort of crunch time of the season, we don't want players have to be learning hard lessons, and we don't want to be on the end results-wise for players' shortcomings. You know, football is all about gaining experience and you've got to learn on the job, but sometimes Rodgers' decision-making with the sub there, sometimes you can't afford to learn on the job. You need to go with tried and tested, don't you?
Yeah, and for me, that's Forrest.
Absolutely. So it's 3 each, and the game eventually fizzles out, doesn't it? We said at the start, would you have taken the draw before kick-off?
Yeah.
100%. But it feels to me like 2 points dropped. And certainly there were some interesting takes, wasn't there? I think Rodgers, you know, he was quite candid, he was quite honest, and he, you know, I think he was on a plane filled with all his all and how he was feeling. There was an element of disappointment, but also relative satisfaction. As the tagline there says, we're still in a strong position to decide the title destination after that draw. I think that from what I've seen, from the celebrations, from the Rangers fans, the Rangers team, and Big Clement, apparently it was the moral victory there. Get that trophy cabinet. It was the moral victory, that one for them. Does that reaction tell the full story? That it's a better result for us than it is for them, despite us being disappointed?
Yes. They've got to come to Parkhead, and they know they're in for it when they come to Parkhead, because we're not going to sit back. We're not going to be scared of them. We know what we can do to them. So, like Brendan says, it's in our hands. And Neil Lennon said, what was it? I'm an old school manager. I don't celebrate draws. I thought that was brilliant. You seen the other commentators' faces just drop them. I thought that was absolute class. The way they celebrated that, mate. So I mean, like you said, stick it in the trophy cabinet. There you go. Take your draw. I think even Paddy Power put it up as well, didn't he? Some of
some of their content's quality.
A 3-3 victory or something.
Yeah. I mean, that is the thing, though, and that I want to touch on is, do you know what? They sat there and they, well, Strange obviously says, yep, we should have buried them the first half. And do you know what? Beating did have an influence. It is unfortunate because in the grand scale of things, it's disappointing because we were in control and we should have put them away. But again, we've got to bring it back home and sort of ask ourselves, would you have taken the draw? We would have. I'm feeling deflated at that. But as you says, and I've spoke to, again, I say it, I have fans that are actually Rangers supporters, believe it or not, and they're all saying the exact same thing. Dundee isn't a given. I would expect them to win, but it isn't a given. But then they've got to come to us, and on the balance of that game, with the flip reverse of all the fans there, the atmosphere, and that our players that were perhaps scared at Ibrox should be lifted. They should have confidence with the home crowd, and they should be getting into that game without fear. But I get a feeling that Rangers, deep down, albeit that they could beat Dundee and retake control on points and on the paper, they'll be worried about that. They'll see what happened in their own territory. They'll also see that they've not beaten us this season. And in the balance set, you've got to favour us at home, have you not? You've got to fancy us to get over the line. And those chances in the first half, if they arise, you've got to hope that and expect that they'll be taking at Celtic Park, would you not?
Of course you would. I had a wee look as well. I can't remember the exact statistics, but Brendan Rodgers' statistics against them, I think, is absolutely outstanding. I'd like to see it again. Actually, I can't really remember what the exact stats were, but he's pretty much unbeaten against them.
Yeah,
he knows how to beat them. And like you say, we just need to do our job. Don't worry about them against Dundee or Ross County or whoever they've got next. Mm-hmm. If we win our games, we win the league.
Well, it's as simple. It really is as simple as that. You know, it's yes, it is within their hands, but it's very much within our hands as well. And the key point here is, there we go, 6 wins till 3 in a row. Absolutely. But it's imperative that we win them. I think the slight advantage carries with us simply because the next game against them is at home. Mm-hmm. But also, when the split comes, we're 4 from 6 at home. Yes, there'll be tricky games in there. But, you know, as I said in the last podcast, the stars could be aligning, and you can't ask for a better run-in. If you can't produce the goods from 4 for 6 at home, then you don't deserve it, do you?
No. And like that, they're coming to us. They're coming to our party. And if we do our job, we've beat them. It's as simple as that. Yeah. And when the split comes, do you reckon the Celtic Rangers is going to be one of the first games that's put in there so that it doesn't go to a actual title?
Well, it's actually quite an interesting one. I predicted that it would be actually fixture 2. I think I've seen some rumours swirling about that it could be later on into the game, and I actually don't think that that's something that anybody would necessarily want. I don't think that the SPFL would want a late one. I certainly don't think that the the likes of the authorities, the police and everything else, I don't think they're going to want it to be a late on game. I mean, ultimately, no matter where it's placed on the calendar, it's going to be, let's face it, a title decider. But, you know, it levels up, doesn't it? The later on it goes, it really levels it up. And as we've seen before with the various authorities and stuff, they want the smoothest path, the path of least resistance, get it out the way early. Mm-hmm. I think if I was a betting man, I would still expect it to be fixture 2. An absolute push right in the middle is fixture 3. Mm-hmm. But we'll soon see. But before we wrap it up and before we go, I think there's another thing that we need to touch on, because Celtic released a statement about, let's face it, some unsavoury non-football, off the pitch instance that happened. O'Reilly scores a goal and there's a glass bottle thrown at him, and then we double down on that, and our bench are getting pelted with items including coins. What needs to be done about these sort of incidents? Do the SPFL need to be really cracking down on it, as well as the authorities?
The clubs need to clamp down on it. How many cameras are in that stadium? Don't know if you remember back when we beat Barcelona, you could go onto the website and you could get a picture of you in the stand for anywhere in that stadium. That just shows you the amount of cameras that are in these stadiums and the amount of things that we've got in place for that. So these guys must be on camera. How they're getting glass bottles and stuff into the stadium again is beyond me. But yeah, these guys need to be dealt with. Every team's got them. We've got them. Do you know what I mean? We've got their boots in our clubs.
That's the thing. Listen, let's not kid ourselves on. It's not a one-way traffic here. There is some unfortunately unsavoury elements within our fan base. We're not saying that's not the case. We're just talking about what happened because it happened at that game. Celtic have come out and says that these incidents are getting looked at by the police, which they should be doing. But do you think that the SPFL, whether it's Rangers, Celtic, Dundee, any club, that do these things, does there have to really be tougher sanctions, including?
If I'm in the SPFL, I'm getting a 3-point deduction straight away, at least 3 points.
I mean, that's strong. I mean, of course we would like that, but listen, let's wind it back to reality. Do we think it needs to be meaningful sanctions, whether it's a park closure like you would get for offensive singing and stuff? Because listen, aside from the missiles, let's not get ourselves diving into the songbook again. Do you know what I mean? But if you play in Europe and you do these kind of things, and you've got fan disorder, you've got incidents like that, whether it's pitch invasions, we know there's fines for pitch invasions, we know they do the pyro. If there's any element of violence, and certainly if there's any racist or sectarian fan behaviour, the sanctions can be quite strong. Whether it's monetary fines or part stadium closures. Do you think if this persists, that's the kind of options that the SPFL, the league body, should be looking at to really sort of hammer it home?
100%. If you keep getting away with it, you're going to keep doing it. It's as simple as that. They need to do something. Like you say, a monetary fine, fair play. Start off with that. If it keeps continuing, then you look at stadium closures. If it continues after that, then you deduct points.
Well, see, here's an interesting thing. Strange also was saying nothing will be done. Indeed, I think it did seem to get swept under the carpet until Celtic came out and said about it. And he says you can't sanction the clubs, you need to target those that break the laws. I fully agree. Yes, you do. You should be taking action against these individuals, whether that's taking the season ticket off them and or them getting prosecuted. But what I would say as well is yes, there's some perfectly good fans. There's loads of good fans. There's thousands of good fans. And there is some that try to waste it for everybody else. But if the clubs are sanctioned, then to that end, it puts an element of responsibility onto fans. Yes, they can't hold fans by the hand and tell them what to do. But much like, which people didn't like when the Green Brigade got a shutout, the club acted on that to say, you can't do this. You're wasting it for everybody else. Now, do not mix what I'm saying here. I think the Green Brigade bring fantastic colour, atmosphere. They are a big, big positive, but I'm not ignorant to, look beyond some of the things that they do wrong. And I'll always give an honest opinion on that. And that transcends to all clubs. I think if you sanction the club or the club take a stance to remove some fans or whatever it may well be, it puts the onus onto fans to say, don't do it, we're taking it seriously, and you will ruin it for other people.
Aye.
Does that sound fair?
100%, mate. Yeah.
Well, that's that. As we say, we'll see what comes out. Listen, we're going to work towards our next game. There's a game for them during the week. Let's see how that pans out. I'm not holding my breath, but can we feel positive after that?
Hopefully they're tired going into it. Dundee are fighting for a top 6. I think by all means they've got to go for it. So, let's see what they do.
Was it, buddy? Well,
like I said, I'm not worrying about them. Let them do what they want to do. We win our games, we win the league. It's as simple as that. I'll concentrate on Celtic.
Absolutely. It's all about the Celtic. Well, listen, we've just been over an hour. That's us. Listen, Paddy, as again, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. We've completed the story. We looked at it. We've previewed it. We've watched it. And now we've broke it down.
Completed it.
Appreciate your time, mate. As I said, we'll get you getting seen Pat Morey Paddy as podcasts go on. When we can get him, we'll get him in. Always positive, always good to have you. Like the cut of your jib, as they say, mate. Of course, I'm biased in it because you're my pal. But there you go. But listen, to anybody that's watched this live or is retrospectively watching at a later date, as I say all the time, thank you. I really do appreciate your time. It's, just humbling that people want to sit here and listen to me talking about the club that we all love. As I say as well, if you do like what you're seeing and hearing here, help me out. Let's get the channel reaching more fans. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. That way you'll get notified every time these are going up live. And as I say, if you want to go a wee bit crazy and extend the reach, you can share cWo content, whether it's the YouTube channel, whether it's Facebook, or whether it's at cWo Pod 1888 on X, or it was formerly known, for those who are old school, Twitter. As I say, football without fans is nothing. Podcasts without viewers and listeners, well, they're redundant, aren't they? Paddy, thanks again, mate. I really appreciate your time. Everybody else, take care of yourself, and we'll catch up again through the week. Hail, hail.